this is the Plant Based Nutritionist, Cath King from Seeking Health. Today I'd like to talk to you about a subject near and dear to my heart, dairy products. I've recently purchased a business called OsteoHealth New Zealand that's a mobile bone scanning service, and so I've been spending a lot of time talking to people about dairy. But before I get to my message today about dairy, and in particular the question of raw milk, it doesn't make a difference if it's not pasteurised in terms of your health and in other terms. I just want to share with you a free gift that Seeking Health is offering at the moment. At present, you can get a whole lot of free reports, videos, and a webinar on weight loss. And the link for those is just below in the video description. And when you sign up for these gifts, you'll get access to free reports and videos on the hunger hormone, the 3 huge mistakes that nearly everybody makes when they try to lose weight, and the nutritional science behind sustainable weight loss. You'll also get access to my webinar, Balance Your Hormones to Master Your Weight, and with that webinar you get the Master Your Hormones Self-Assessment Questionnaire and another report on bridging the willpower gap. So lots of really helpful material for you when you sign up for free. Anyway, on to our topic today. It has been said that it's easier to talk to people about politics and religion than it is to talk about food choices. And I find that to be true with a lot of people. And trying to convince people to give up foods that they love and that they've been told their whole lives are good for them and they need to consume is really challenging, even with the overwhelming evidence that I can present them with. And I think that people form attachments to some foods more than others. Like, I've never had someone sit in my office and say that they're addicted to Brussels sprouts and they can't stop eating them. On the other hand, chocolate. People get addicted to that, and another big one that people definitely have strong addictions to is dairy, and cheese in particular. Now, people are always looking to put forward the dairy argument in some form so that they can, get permission to eat it. And one of the arguments put forth by dairy advocates is that the problem with dairy is that we consume it once it's been pasteurised. And these people insist that that's the reason that people have so many bad responses to dairy, sort of ranging from the common allergies to constipation, asthma, to infections, or that kind of thing. And that consuming raw milk and cheese is better, that it doesn't cause the same reactions and it doesn't pose the same health risks that we know milk causes, things like type 1 diabetes, cancer, asthma, skin problems, digestive issues, osteoporosis, and the list goes on. Now, that claim is just not true, and a new study actually looked at this issue, or part of that issue, when it compared raw milk to pasteurised milk. So I'll tell you a little bit about the study. It included lactose intolerant patients, and people who are lactose intolerant don't produce enough lactase. That's an enzyme that assists in breaking down the sugars in milk. And lactose intolerance is normal, by the way. As mammals, we're meant to stop producing lactase after we're weaned from our mother's breast milk. And because mammals aren't supposed to continue to drink milk after weaning, and especially not the milk of another species. So, lactose intolerance as older children and adults is the normal state of affairs, and lactase persistence is actually a genetic mutation that humans have made use of in many cultures over the past few thousand years. Anyway, participants in this study were given pasteurised milk, raw milk and soy milk. And they tried one type of milk for 8 days, and then they took a break, and then they tried another type of milk for 8 days. And levels of hydrogen in the breath were measured because levels are higher when undigested lactose is present. And there was no difference between the results of this test when pasteurised versus raw milk was consumed. And also participants reported that there was no difference in the severity of their symptoms when they consumed raw milk instead of pasteurised milk, whereas there was a huge difference both for hydrogen levels and symptoms when the soy milk was consumed. And the researchers concluded, and this is a quote, "These results do not support widespread anecdotal claims that raw milk reduces the symptoms of lactose intolerance." It just doesn't. So, here's the bottom line. Cow's milk is not an appropriate or safe food for humans, regardless of how it's consumed. Raw versus pasteurised, same result. Organic versus non-organic. Fortified versus non-fortified, low fat, high fat. People are always trying to come up with some qualification that will justify their cheese eating addiction. And there just isn't any such thing. Dairy proteins contribute to the development of many diseases, and all cow's milk products have them in there regardless of the type of product. And all cow's milk contains estrogen and estrogen metabolites. So no matter how many ways you ask the question, I'm going to come back to you with the same answer. Don't eat this stuff. It's not good for you and will contribute to your early demise. Plus, as an eco-nutritionist, I'm also interested in the health of the whole planet. And so I also need to point out the environmental destruction inherent in dairy. So there are some interesting facts that most people are unaware of. First of all, methane gas from cows is 25 to 100 times more destructive than CO2. Methane has the global warming potential of 86 times that of CO2, and cows produce 150 billion gallons of methane per day worldwide. Pasteurised cows, or pastured cows rather, like we predominantly kind of have in New Zealand, produce more methane than grain-fed cows. 100 gallons of milk are required to produce 100 gallons, let's start again. 1,000 gallons of water are required to produce just 1 gallon of milk. And when I make almond milk, by the way, 1 litre of water is all that's required to make over 1 litre of almond milk. And a farm with 2,500 dairy cows produces the same amount of waste as a city of 411,000 people. And before someone says, oh, but it's different in New Zealand, no, it's not. According to a scientific paper released in April 2015 in New Zealand, the costs of repairing the damage from dairy farming in our country could be as high as $15 billion per year. And the paper actually has quite a catchy title. It's called New Zealand Dairy Farming, Milking Our Environment for All It's Worth. And this paper came from Massey University, and they point out that that figure of $15 billion does not actually include the cost of biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation. So despite all the export earnings we get as a country from dairy, the cost of cleaning up after it is actually as much as we're making. We would be so much better off in every way possible, health, environment, and financial, if we as a country transitioned away from dairying as our way of earning a crust. So if you're not prepared to give up dairy for your own health, please consider doing it for the sake of our environment. And if that doesn't do it for you, then how about for the good of the cows? But the ethical arguments against dairy farming, compelling though they are, will have to wait for another day. Because that's all for now. Have a wonderful day. Please pass this on as usual to anybody who you think might benefit. And I'll be back to you again another time with more education and information on how to bring health, happiness and peace to yourself and to the planet. Please check out those free gifts on the link below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.